Talk to me about this tennis player that just got disappeared in China.
Yeah. So Peng Shuai is a very famous Chinese tennis player. She's been in 3 Olympics and a real superstar. She then put out a message on social media, essentially or accusing somebody who had been her off and on lover for a decade, but who is a very, very senior Chinese official of sexual assault. And then she disappeared. And so there's been a big international outcry. More recently, there was a call set up between her and the head of the International Olympic Committee, which didn't really resolve anything. So here's how I see that issue. It's a big deal in China for a high-profile celebrity to make any kind of public claim that's not aligned with government interests, let alone to accuse a former member of the Chinese Politburo of a sexual assault. From the Chinese government perspective, I think the reason why they moved so aggressively to squash her and her message is I think they're afraid of a Me Too movement in China. Because in China, like in many other countries, I can give you a 100% guarantee that many senior members of the Chinese Communist Party have assaulted women over time and abused their power. There's a 100% chance of that. It's not just in China; it happens in countries all around the world. If there were a Me Too movement, as happened in the United States, in France, and in many other places, the Chinese government fears that could get out of hand. And it's exactly why with Falun Gong, which is kind of like a spiritual yoga club, and China attacked them and has imprisoned and killed many members of Falun Gong, the Chinese Communist Party is afraid of any kind of social organization not sanctioned by them. And they're afraid of any person getting the ability to deliver a message contrary to the message of the Chinese Communist Party. So that's why Jack Ma, the richest man in China, he criticizes the Chinese government and he vanishes. Fan Bingbing, who's one of the lead actresses, is accused of not playing by the rules, disappears and has to come back much later, groveling and asking for forgiveness. We've seen this story over and over and over. And the theme of it is the Chinese Communist Party will do anything to control its narrative. And that's the connection with the COVID origin. I mean, they have their story. They'll do whatever it takes to defend their story. And that's why with Peng Shuai, they're willing to crack down. They don't want to lose the Olympics, but it's great that there are people like Enes Kanter of the Boston Celtics who are raising really important questions and challenging China. And on COVID origins, that's why we have to demand a full investigation, just like we have to demand that China that if they want to host the Olympics, if they want to get this opportunity to be part of the international community, it comes with obligations. And that's why, more broadly, I've called for every media organization that's covering the Olympics to spend 25% of their full media time covering issues of Tibet, Xinjiang, South China Sea, human rights in China. Every corporate sponsor that's spending on the Beijing Olympics should spend 10% of its full spend supporting the victims of these atrocities, and whether they're Tibetans, Uyghurs, or investing in supporting organizations fighting for democracy in Hong Kong and many other situations.
It is crazy that China can be a part of a global movement, which is the Olympics sport. It's the Winter Olympics they've got next year, right? Yes. And yet not play by the rules that the rest of the world adheres to or says is fair. There is something, there's something icky about the entire China situation, which I guess is that we require them to keep the capitalist machine moving forward. There is also perverse incentives, people being monetized. You saw that ridiculous turnaround. Who was that wrestler that gave the
oh my God,
John Cena.
John Cena. It was. I actually tweeted against him. I mean, it is. Let me just use this opportunity to condemn John Cena. John Cena, if you're listening to this podcast, you are a scoundrel. You're supposed to be a tough guy. That's your entire brand. And China criticizes you and you get on your hands and knees and bark like a dog. Show some backbone. Talk to Enes Kanter. That's what courage looks like. Standing up for things, standing up for people, and standing up for human rights. And I challenge you, John Cena, to come on this podcast with me and let's have the conversation about China. If you think that the Chinese Communist Party is doing such a great job, if they are supporting human rights so much that you'll do everything you can to support them, come and make that case and let's have a conversation.
You heard it, John Cena. Yeah, I mean, it makes me feel so icky. It makes me feel so uncomfortable, generally, the whole situation around China. Going back to Peng Shuai and the other people that kind of get disappeared for a while, what do you think happens? Do you think, I mean, are they being taken away and tortured? Are they being taken away and what is it that
not
that
taken away
occurs
and
to them?
tortured. So the Chinese government is very sophisticated. I don't think that Peng Shuai or Jack Ma or Fan Bingbing, none of them were tortured. As a matter of fact, I'm certain of it. But the Chinese government has a lot of levers over people like that. They can destroy their lives. They can imprison their relatives. They can take away their means of making a living, of communicating with their fans. So they really have a lot of leverage, and they're fully willing to use that leverage when they feel it's necessary, including against other members of the Chinese Communist Party who get on the wrong side, like many of them. And so that's what they're doing, and that's frankly why the many scientists who I believe almost certainly have a lot of relevant information of the origins of the pandemic, they don't dare speak. I mean, certainly they've been threatened by the Chinese government. There are laws preventing them from speaking. But if they speak, even if they make a run for it and get outside of the country and speak, their families will be in very significant danger. So this is a very thorough control mechanism.
When you saw the first photos of Peng Shuai and she was surrounded by animals, people can Google this if they want to try and see it. I think she posted it on WeChat, which is kind of like Chinese Facebook. And it's the most sinister looking room for somebody that's been missing for a long time to arrive in. Is all of these weird children's toys on a shelf behind her, and then there's a selfie of her holding one of them. It's the proper horror movie shit.
And so I have no idea whether that's actually her room or it's a movie set. But regardless, let's just say that is her room. We'll give China the benefit of the doubt. Some crew from the Chinese propaganda department came there and set up that. There's
a photo shoot with you and all of your soft toys.
It's just sinister and it's gross. And we have to be honest about it. We have to condemn it, and we have to hold China accountable.
What's happening, people? If you enjoyed that, then press here for the full, unedited episode. And don't forget to subscribe. Peace.